So when I came on board with them, they had just done about 6 million the year prior. They had roughly 30 employees, and we went from 6 million to over 25 million, and from 30 employees to over 90 employees in less than 2 years.
Sure. That was rocket ship, man. That's fun.
It was crazy. It was whenever I would interview people, because I did all the hiring, no matter what the role is. I would do first point of contact, first interview, sit in the second interviews, and then do offers. And I would explain to people, because I don't want people to come over and be frustrated. Hey, I was like, hey, if you like the things to be always the same way, if you want to know who your boss is, if you want to come to work, know how you're going to do your job, and then go home, you'll probably be frustrated. I said it feels a lot like a startup here.
Welcome to the Reimagining Home Services podcast. I'm Brady Jolly with my partner and COO, Scott Sharrock. We lead a rapidly growing plumbing, HVAC, electrical, and water cleanup business, and we're on a mission to run a $100 million company. Join us as we walk through the challenges, decisions, and lessons that come with that journey. Welcome back. Super excited about today's episode. We have an awesome guest on here that we've been looking forward to talking to. Scotty, I'll let you do the intro.
Yeah, so Westie Magnuson and I became friends on LinkedIn. It's just such a powerful tool, and one of my favorite things is how well connected the trades are. And Westie and I hit it right off. I mean, former operator, co-partner, co-owner of HireAligned. So we're super excited to have him on. But Westie, just kick that off, man. Tell us a little bit about you and HireAligned, and I would love to also hear some about like your operator days before HireAligned.
Yeah, so I'll probably just kind of start how I got into the trades, and then just have you guys interrupt me as I go, because I don't want to just talk for 4 minutes straight. But first of all, shout out. Yeah, LinkedIn is an awesome tool. That's something I've utilized for the last 10 plus years of my career. And I've made, like you said, actual real relationships and friendships through it. So I think it's awesome. And thanks for having me on the podcast. Really excited. But
Westie, real quick before you dive in, dude, we were just talking before the podcast. This is by far the strongest name in the industry. Westie Magnuson, dude. I mean, you need it's like a superhero, bro. It's like that's the sickest name ever.
What were you saying? It's the strongest son?
I think it's Son of Power or something like that.
Power.
I haven't looked at it for a while.
Dang.
Yeah, that's the last name, and then the Westie part is just made up. Technically, my middle name's Weston. And my parents have just called me Westie since I was like a baby. So
I respect that. That's cool. All right.
That's awesome.
All right. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're good. No, I like it. Yeah. So I was working as a sales and operations manager at a local company in Portland, Oregon that did commercial business to business carpet and floor cleaning. So like our accounts were like, Wells Fargo, Nike World headquarters, lots of medical and hospitals and things like that. And the workforce was just, skilled manual labor that worked at night, right? Because to clean places that are that busy, you got to clean them when they're closed for business. So I was working there, and circling back to LinkedIn again, a recruiter that found me on LinkedIn reached out, and it was actually Stefan from Nexstar. And he was
awesome.
Like, big dog.
Yeah.
Big Steph, baby. Shout out to the bear.
His voice,
he's
bro,
awesome.
It just takes over.
Hey, Westie.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah. He needs to voice like an animated character, honestly, is what you should do. But
maybe he'll voice Westie Magnuson in the next superhero movie.
That would be good. That would add some aura. I try to use some of the kids' slang, because I got my oldest he just got his learner's permit. So I got 3 boys, a teenager, and then 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. But
nice. Sweet.
I can still remember the part of the road I was driving on when I got the phone call from Stefan. We hit it off really well. It was out of the blue. I think we talked for like 45 minutes. And then about a month later, I got a job as plumbing service manager at Three Mountains Plumbing here in Portland, Oregon. They hired on 2 of us at the same time, and they and Stefan were both like, hey, we've tried a plumber in this role 3 times. All 3 times, plumber doesn't like it. They miss plumbing. To be brutally honest, they're making less money and they feel like they've got more stress. So they're like, we want to hire somebody with leadership experience to try this go around. about 9 months later, I got promoted to senior plumbing manager, and then continued to just go to all the Nexstar trainings. They were a very big Nexstar shop. I,
Yep.
traveled a lot for them. Ran the business planning workshop a couple different times,
Nice.
and then we grew from around. I think we grew when I started. We grew from around 6 million to 20-ish million over about 2.5 years.
Sweet.
Amazing, man.
They got ended up getting bought about roughly 1.5 to 2 years in of my time there. And then they started adding verticals as well. Like it was pure plumbing, drains, and sewers when I started. And then we added electric and HVAC. And
How many total years were you there at Three Mountains?
approximately 3, 1 per mountain.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So then, so everyone's heard lots about PE. Nexstar even has taken its stance on PE. I've learned that my first experience isn't necessarily representative of it as a whole, right? It's kind of like when you try a restaurant and for whatever reason, your first experience is bad, and then you're like, oh, that whole chain is garbage. Like, I'll never give it another chance. And then you meet someone you trust, and they're like, oh, I really like that place. Like, what did you order? And you tell them, like, well, you don't order that there. That's not why you go to that restaurant. You need to go again and try this. So for me, the experience was just one that I didn't want to continue to be involved in. A lot of people still work there and are happy, and it's working great for them. But I went to Cornell's after that. They were plumbing shop, up and coming plumbing shop. They had literally just added HVAC, and the main reason they brought me over was to help them with growth, particularly on the people side. They're like, hey, we've got demand, we've got tools, we've got resources to grow, but we can't hire people fast enough. So when I came on board with them, they had just done about 6 million the year prior. They had roughly 30 employees, and we went from 6 million to over 25 million, and from 30 employees to over 90 employees in less than 2 years.
Sure. That was rocket ship,
it
man.
was,
That's fun.
It was crazy. It was whenever I would interview people, because I did all the hiring, no matter what the role is. I would do first point of contact, first interview, sit in the second interviews, and then do offers. And I would explain to people, because I don't want people to come over and be frustrated. Hey, I was like, hey, if you like the things to be always the same way, if you want to know who your boss is, if you want to come to work, know how you're going to do your job, and then go home, you'll probably be frustrated. I said it feels a lot like a startup here because we're growing so fast. It feels like we try a new software tool, try it for a month or so, then we're like, this software tool is actually not so good. We're not going to use it after all, even though we trained everyone on how to do it. So
been there
during that same right. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited to hear a little more details about your guys' story too, which might be for a different time. But and they had just come off of a rebrand too when I joined them. They had rebranded like 3 months prior, and it was pretty substantial rebrand, similar to yours. Like,
they
you
did
could
a great
see some
job.
of the roots in there, but and they used Kick Charge, which is they do fantastic work and very prevalent in the space. Yep. So then during that same time when I was at Cornell's, I started writing for Plumber magazine.
That's cool.
And at one of the articles, it was unexpected. I tell people will ask like, well, how did you do that? And I was like, I literally just wrote an article and sent it to them. And they're like, hey, can we publish it? And I'm like, yeah, that's why I sent it to you.
You actually had to write it.
That was OG. You actually wrote that thing.
Yeah, that's true.
You're like, people know how to write? We're going to lose that skill too, like cursive.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, cursive is, we won't know what that is anymore. But so I was just a contributing columnist. I would write, 4 to 6 articles a year. And one of the articles I wrote it was literally called Culture-Based Hiring and Recruiting. And it was just some of the best practices we were doing.
Yeah.
And the publishers let me know that was their most popular article of the year. And I was like, wow, there's
awesome,
a lot more.
Man. Congrats.
Yeah, I was excited. Yes, thank you. I mean, I was
really cool.
I was super proud, but I was also like, man, there's a lot more demand for this than I even realized.
No doubt. So
then I started speaking at conferences on the exact same topic, just literally based my presentation off of the article. I remember when I finally got someone, I was trying to get to speak at a conference for over a year. So, a lot of times from the outside in, it's like, wow, Westie didn't even try, and now he's speaking at conferences. I'm like, no, I got tons of no's. I tried for a long time. got my foot in the door because of a last minute cancellation. The lady called. She's like, "Hey, someone's canceled. Like it's in less than 2 weeks. Can you fill that slot?" And I'm like, "Yep." And then I had to figure out what I was going to do my presentation on because I didn't have it ready yet. And then it was the same thing. Just every time I did this talk at the conferences, it was like, ACA, AHR, just a lot of the known industry conferences. It was like the rooms were very full and lots of people would have questions afterwards. And I just started to see an opportunity to serve the trade space nationally rather than, just at the one shop. So then after that, a little more time went by. I got introduced to someone, just woke up in the morning with a text message with me and a guy I knew and a guy I didn't know. And the guy I knew was like, "Hey, you and this guy have a lot in common. You should talk." And less than 2 weeks later, I was doing HireAligned with him. And so my co-founder's name's Jacob Crockett. So
another strong name, kind of nice.
Jacob Crockett, yeah, kind of, yeah. I'll let him know.
Dude, what a story, man. And what I love, like, and to be fully transparent, like Westie and I have only known each other for a few months. But you're just Westie, right? Like your personality, your love for the trades, your willingness to ask until you get a yes, like that thing, just as you tell your story, is special. And I think we deal a lot with recruiting, retention, and just that attitude of like can do, we're gonna find a way, is amazing to see. And we don't have enough of it, and there is a need for it. And I'm glad you're filling that space. So tell us about HireAligned. Like you just kind of walked us through that. You met your partner, didn't know who it was via chat. It's how a lot of people meet their spouses too. But This is just your work partner. But tell us about HireAligned and where you're going with it.
Yeah. So Jacob the good news is I believe in working with people who are smarter than you. Like that's the only way I've accomplished literally anything.
That's what Scott. That's why Scott works with me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's actually
more
the very much
too.
opposite.
More handsome. Yeah. So his background was data analytics, or as he likes to call it, AI before AI was cool. Software startups. So he had worked for a couple different software-related startups that had, pretty fast trajectories. And he had been kind of building this in the background and was looking for a way to pivot to the trade specifically. HireAligned had been running as a software that could help anyone with hiring. And we all three kind of know the importance of niching, right? Niching down, like you can't serve everybody. You've got to have the right customer. You can't just if you sell every single one you run, or you worked, you guys added roofing, which is, strategic and a specific choice, but there's somewhere you're going to draw the line, right? You may or may not add dog poop pickup at some point in Jolly's career. Like you'll have to figure out if that's good for you or not. But, so he had already had it built, the backbone of it, had it up and running. I've never worked with such a smart AI software person before. We'll literally be on the phone and he's like, "Well, what would you change in the software if you could change it?" I'm like, "Oh, well, it would be nice if it did this." And then I'll hear from him 2 hours later and he'll be like, "Hey, our software does that now." And I'm like, "That's crazy to just work in that space."
What a talent.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really
Westie,
great working with him.
What do you think, like when you're going to a customer and you're pitching your guys' services, there's a lot of recruiting firms and kind of what you guys do, the actual function out there, but I know you guys have some things that separate you. So what are those things?
Yeah, so what I say is, the way it works comes from having done this role in the trades for, 8 years. I've been the guy who's done the hiring and the recruiting and managed the techs. I've managed, service teams, sales teams, the dispatch team, and kind of everything firsthand. So the biggest difference is when we're screening these candidates, we know what their pain points are. So we can check for fit really well both ways. We can check for fit for the company by asking the right questions about Service Titan, if they're interested in performance pay, why did they not want to leave their current company in the first place? But just as important, we can say the kind of things about the company that we know will or won't interest them. I'm sure you guys have even crazier stories than me, but I've literally had a plumber switch, and he's like, his number one reason for switching is the shop when he was at a parts house, our guy had like a Carhartt branded jacket on. And he's like, our jackets are garbage. I want to work somewhere that's like, he's like, I'm selling the top equipment. You know, I'm charging customer a premium. We're one of the most expensive shops in town. And my uniforms are not nice. He's like, I want to work somewhere where I feel like as good as what I'm selling.
That's sweet.
And
okay.
that's the kind of nuances and details that you don't get like as just a recruiter, with all due respect to recruiters that are trying to recruit in the trades, and they don't know the pain points. They don't know the pain of being on call. They don't know the pain of, you know, is there a weekend rotation? They don't know the pain of like, hey, I'm the low guy on the totem pole, so I have the truck that might not start today. Like all these things that you know to ask and bring about. If they say, hey, my shop got bought, that's why I'm looking for a job. They don't know the follow-up questions that you say, okay, well, what changed? Like, are you looking to make a change because you had great benefits and now you don't? Well, let me tell you exactly what ours are before we bring you in and use everyone's time up and that finds out this isn't what you're looking for either. So the firsthand experience for that, and then the pricing. One of the things I always would be frustrated with when I was working in the trades and having recruitment firms call on me was, it's like the pricing was very murky. They're like, I can't tell you exactly what your costs will be. It'll be a percentage of their annual salary, you know, depending on the role. And then that's also dependent upon if like, is their performance pay, you know, it's kind of like their total comp is taken into consideration, you know, because a lot of times, a lot of shops are straight performance pay. So it's like, okay, well, how do you charge a percentage of their annual if you don't know what they're going to bring in? And then the other big difference is that there's no contract. It's month to month. So we do flat rate charge, no matter what the role is, it's the same charge, and it's month to month. So some shops, we have a lot of shops, probably 25% of our customers are like 5 million and under. They don't have like an every single month need for hiring. They need like every other month. Some of the smaller shops once every 3 months. And we've also been in those P&L meetings with our team where we're going through the lines. We're like, what's this thing? And we're like, nobody knows what it is. And then you look into it and you're like, oh, that's a software we signed up for 8 months ago that we've been paying for monthly that we haven't even onboarded yet. So those are kind of the biggest different selling points. The one final thing that we do that there are other options out there for, but ours again is trade specific in nature, is the culture alignment. So essentially when you first onboard, you have your leadership team and then like a handful of office and field employees that really embody what's like most important and special in your culture. Take this anonymous survey, and the percentage of people that take it is really high because we've made it where you just talk. It's literally AI prompts and you just answer verbally. You don't have to like find time to like sit and type at your computer. You don't have to be like texting on your phone to fill out like this really small little form fill, and then like you get a phone call and it interrupts you and you forget. And it'll re-prompt if the answer is like yes, right? That's not very useful. You know, hey, would you recommend Jolly to your friends and families to work here? Yes. Okay, well, why? You know, it'll prompt until you get some useful data. And that helps the internal team kind of see where your culture scores in actuality based on team's feedback. But then also the same assessment goes to incoming candidates, and you can see before you interview them, hey, they're a 7 out of 10 culture fit just based on how they answered the assessment, which helps with retention.
That feels like very much the future of recruiting, right? Like finding the fits through technology and the culture indexing stuff. I love it, man. Can you tell us, and maybe you got to go back to your experience when you were in the recruiting roles within your operating these companies, but what do you think are some of the mistakes that companies make in recruiting?
I mean, there's a lot, and the only reason I know is because I had front row seat when I made them all. You know, that's failure is the best teacher, I think is the phrase, is something like that. But I think the number one that's almost everyone that's costing you the most, that's the easiest to change, is speed to lead. The biggest thing I talk about when I do my talks at conferences is to look at recruiting as sales. And I give the example, I'm like, if your best service tech was on a call and he had both decision makers there and they're like, hey, actually, we think we want a whole system replacement. Like, how many of you would be like, okay, collect their information and we'll get to them maybe before the end of the week? Yeah. We would never do that, right? We'd all drop what we're doing, get our best system designer over there or the closest one, whatever it is. It's like, this is an opportunity, like they're ready to go. But with recruiting, it's usually like a cadenced, someone checks resumes or applications, you know, once a week. And then communicating to people where they're at is another part of that. Most of these job boards, it's through email. Well, another thing I say when I talk is like, hey, how many of your field techs, if you send a company email, they look at it or read it or respond, even in a week, much less the same day? It's like, no, we all know that this group doesn't look at email. So why are we trying to communicate with them back and forth via email? So I think you need to treat it like sales. Speed to lead has to be really important, and you need to talk to them the way they want to be communicated to, which is texting. They also don't want a phone call, right? They have a job right now. They're in the field. They're at a customer's house. They're driving to their next job. A lot of trucks these days have, in-cab cameras. They don't necessarily want to answer a call, and in their cab says, "Hey, I saw you just applied for a job at a competitor. When's a good time for you to talk on the phone?"
I love that perception change, and I've seen that a couple places, and they've had massive success. And it's like, oftentimes, and there's a period of this that's true, right? We want the applicants to sell us why we should hire them, and often we're never selling the applicant of why they should come here, and having that urgency. And you just like perfectly depicted that. Like, that's awesome. Speed to lead. It's like, this is worth way more than a $15,000 fit system. This is a person that's going to build and make a stronger team and a culture. That's a really great takeaway, man. That's a big nugget.
What do you see as far as, like, we always talk about like our online reputation and how we come across on social and like the energy of the brand and how important that is obviously for consumers, but also for like recruits, How do you see that working with companies that really put a lot of energy into that? Do you see that being an impact?
Absolutely, yeah. It's very, very impactful. I think in the 2 years that I was at Cornell's, I hired at least 10 field techs just through Instagram interactions.
Wow.
That's how it started.
That's pretty cool.
The only thing I will say is I have managed my own Instagram account and like had access through the Cornell's one. All of those came through mine and not the company one. So it's kind of another nuance. It's like someone who's very involved that knows what's going on both sides, because they're a lot more likely to reach out to a human they see as a person that works at the entity than to reach out to like Jolly's official Instagram, right? Because it feels less personal for one thing. And then for the other thing, depending on the size of the company, you're not sure who it is on the other end, right?
That's really good feedback.
Is that, yeah.
Because right now, I'm just thinking through if you reach out, it's probably going to go to like the people that manage our social media for us, So,
it's just the mindset of always be recruiting.
100%.
Dude, I am so passionate about that. Like, anywhere I go, if I'm at the gym, if I'm having a conversation, or if someone says they love it here, I'm like, all right, who do you know that can come and join you? Like those immediate questions. And I think it goes back to the speed to lead, though. It goes back to, because it's so much easier. If you text me individually, I'm going to have you an interview scheduled tomorrow, where we don't necessarily treat that the same way if someone goes online to our web form, right? And that's a good.
And because there's like so many of them coming through, you can't put a face with the name. It's like, and that's also to people that may be listening that are like thinking about applying at a home service business. Don't just go on the website and
reach out to us on Instagram. We'll hire you.
I mean, really, direct message to the owner usually works.
Yeah.
Usually works, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So what are I'd like to hear some advice that you give people that are trying to build like a company like we're trying to build. We're trying to build a world-class home service company. What are some things that you would advise to us and other companies that are trying to do that to build like a world-class team?
I think, and I know that this is assumed, but it's important for me to say, like, I don't know everything, but the stuff that I feel passionate about from what I've seen, the sooner you get your branding right, the better, right? It only gets more expensive to invest in an actual brand as you grow. And it's crazy the impact. I don't know if your guys has been going long enough for you to really measure the ROI at all, but it makes a huge difference. And it's way better of a time investment and just a cost investment if you're rewrapping a handful of trucks versus a fleet of 20, 30, 40, 50. Very, very expensive, extra cost. Another thing is building your team right now to to be future proof and for the culture that you want. The things I've seen that have bottlenecked shops more than anything is waiting till your whole team is drowning and then just promoting. It's like, hey, you're nearby, you're a manager now. You're not setting that person up for success. What you're often doing is taking a top performer who kills it at what they do, and now you're putting them in a role that they're bad at.
Totally.
That is a hard switch for anybody. Literally anyone would struggle with that. And top performers from the field in particular, they feel it. They're like, I used to be top dog, 5-star reviews, saved the day for customers all the time. Anyone could rely on me to run that tricky call. And now it's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my time. And I believe in promoting from within, but I think it has to be planned and trained and supported. When it's just like, well, we didn't think about it soon enough, and we need to install manager 2 months ago. Hey, top install, you're the manager now.
Great point.
And then they can't scale, right? They can't scale because when you talk about some of these fast growth companies right now, like Cornell's, for example, going from 6 million to 25 million in 2 years. Not many people can scale their personal skill set at that same rate. That's pretty uncommon. So bringing on a mix of, you want internal opportunities, you want internal training. You don't want a team to feel like I can't ever get into management. They only hire from the outside. Like that's definitely bad for culture. But you need to bring in people who've seen the next level. You need at least 1 or 2 of them on your team so that you've got a good mix of boots on the ground. This is what Jolly means. I've been here for the long haul. And someone coming in and saying, I've worked at a $50 million company. Like I know some of the pieces that get us to that next level.
Yeah, man, we've seen that, and we've made the mistake, the compounding mistake of put somebody who's like a great field tech, plumber, whatever, into a management position. That doesn't work out, and then you end up losing them. And you not only just lost a leader, but you lost like a top performer in the field,
Yeah.
And so I couldn't agree more. Scott's really good with the leadership development stuff and has a lot of these tools that we're working on that I'm excited about, just to have that long range approach of identifying leaders and then working with them over a period of time and giving them this soft landing within a leadership role. Like I actually when we look at all the dynamics of Jolly, when we look at like what could get in the way of our growth, we got pretty aspirational growth goals. Most of the things that you look at, you're like, dude, I think that's going to be fine. I think we can overcome that. I think we can overcome that. The leadership and the amount of leaders that you need at pick a number, 50, 75, 100 million, beyond that size company, it's a lot of leaders, and there's almost no world where you can just go out and hire them and make that sustainable at the pace we want to grow. So it's like it's a non-negotiable. No matter what, we have got to build leaders within our company. And that's like really hard to do, especially when your main skill set is running an operating company. Like we're operating a business. We're trying to sell HVAC systems and we're trying to sell plumbing equipment, and you have to be able to pull back, get good counsel from people like you to be able to build leaders. And I think that that's just what a lot of companies miss. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but it's just what I've observed.
It's cool to see like grow your own tech academies has been, you guys have probably more context than me, but I feel like in the last 3 to 4 years, like 5 to 8 years ago, I would see one pop up here and there. And now I feel like any 50 million plus shop I talk to already has it. Yeah, I think we definitely need the same thing for leaders. An awesome thing that Three Mountains did is they had basically an emerging leader class. And it was a mix of selected people who had leadership qualities, but you could also self-express an interest. And it was never so big that we had to tell anyone like, no, you can't be in it. And it was just a bi-weekly class where we would go through some of the same stuff that the actual leadership team was going through in their meetings, and then training. And then it was our way of trying to also, like what you said, supplement internally in addition to, finding other good talent elsewhere.
Yeah. So man, as we close, couple of questions for you. The first question is like, what are you excited about in the home service business, recruiting or otherwise, over the next 5 to 10 years?
What I'm most excited about is probably there's 2 things. One is the interest in young people, right? We all have heard the people like, people don't want to work today. Like I can't hire because nobody wants to work. I haven't seen that to be true. What I've seen more so is there's a gap between skill set and like like continued training. So one of the we've got customers in 18 different states right now. Um, Almost all of them will get applicants of someone who just graduated from a tech school, but they don't have soft skills. They don't have any sales skills. They don't know how to use the software. So it's like, we're excited to see those applicants, but a lot of these shops are already taxed at the leadership level. And they're like, we need someone with more experience, like someone who just graduated tech school. We don't have the bandwidth to train them on all these other things. So we've gotten interest. So many kids. Yeah, go ahead.
That is such a gap, in my opinion, in our industry. It's like, how many high school kids that we talk to all the time? Like, hey, I'm thinking about going to trade school out of school. I'm like, don't do it. If you want to get in the trades, just come work here or go find another good home service company and work in. Yeah. Trade school, it has its place. I don't want to talk people out of that, but it's so much better hiring somebody and training them on their own ways and having them learn on the job in customer's house. Like, these people come out of trade school and demanding a lot of money, and we're kind of looking at it like, man, you've never really even had a customer interaction. You've never been out in the field. I think I'm good. I think I would rather just hire somebody who is green and ready to go, and we'll train them up over a 6-month or a year period and send them out there, I think that's a gap that we need to start talking about more in the trades, not to be on a soapbox, but I don't know if you guys would agree.
No, I agree completely. I think there's one of the things I want to be doing, as far as just a personal goal within the next 2 to 3 years, is I want to be able to pivot my focus of my time to creating an on-demand online curriculum that we can give for free to trade schools that is also soft skills and just basics of Service Titan. Because if I talked to a recent tech school graduate that said, I also went through this program online, that's a lot more appealing for a hire, for a new hire. But then the other thing too that's most encouraging is just like the sheer amount, like way more women involved, like in literally every role. When I think about who I've learned the most from in the trades, my first operations manager at Three Mountains, she basically taught me everything. I didn't know anything about the trades. I've worked with the same CFO at a couple different shops, and she taught me so much about Service Titan, like helped me switch my business mind from what I was used to what good financials look like in the trades. And then a couple of really killer operators. And I've just been, in my market in Portland, to be completely honest, it's more normal, right, for women to be involved in the trades. I think different parts of the country, it's still not as common. So like I was pretty blessed and fortunate to get to work with so many like just killer women in those roles. But the more I go to these conferences and the more shops I talk to, like they're more and more prominent on the leadership team. And one of my talking points when I speak on it is I'm like, yeah, there's a labor shortage. There's also women that everyone should be considering that have always been there that haven't been getting the same chances as their male counterparts. So I think it's going in the right direction. Are we going to fix it for everyone in the world? Probably not. But it's nice that it's going in the right direction. It's super encouraging.
It's a good call out, and it's true.
Yep. So, dude, if somebody's interested in HireAligned, what should they do?
They should reach out, whether they reach out to me on my LinkedIn, my socials, go to the webpage. They can book a time or just message me. I'm super accessible. They can even have my phone number. I could put it in the notes. I don't really care. And I'm really about fit, which from being from the trades, part of my first talk is like, I've seen what it's like when they're trying to convince you to get the full system replacement. And you're like, well, I feel like I want to try the repair. Like, we've all seen what it's like. There's good ways to educate and empower a customer, and there's ways to be like, make them feel scared. My genuine hope is people can do it internally. And that's what I thought I would run into the most, is that we would help be a bridge for a period of time, and then they would switch to completely internal. But the available softwares for managing applicants is so bad that most shops need that at a minimum. And then just like a lot of your current good vendors, we find that they say, hey, it's easier and better for us to keep using you guys as experts for this, and we'll focus on the operating part of the machine. So, but yeah, just reaching out and having a call. It's easy to figure out on one call if it's a good fit and if we have value to add, or if they really just need a couple of tips on how to make things a little better.
Sweet. Yeah, well, we'll post your LinkedIn link in our bio or whatever, the section when we post this podcast.
Perfect.
So, dude, can't thank you
Awesome.
enough for coming on. I love the
Westie, son
Jolly
of
hat.
power.
Yeah, I got the Jolly hat,
Yeah, the
the
swag.
fresh
Looks
brand.
great.
That's a cool
The
story,
swag.
real quick. So Wesley reached out. We've been talking a lot, and he's like, "Hit me with that," and I mailed it to him. Kentucky.
He did like an
to
unboxing.
Oregon. He did an unboxing, and it
A
was
little
really
unboxing
cool. He's
video.
creative. Our media team loved it. They shared it on our LinkedIn. But Westie, dude, great person, great conversation. We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for being a friend of the brand. Thanks for your help with everything, dude. It's been great chatting with you. For listeners, we would love it if you commented any topics that you want us to go over in the future. Like and subscribe. That'd be a big help to us. Thanks again. Yeah, have a great day.